Saddle up, as today on the channel we're counting down my top 10 Marvel Legends Comic Edition figures of 2022.
The spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here. Welcome back to the channel for another year-end top 10 countdown list. And today we're counting down my top 10 favorite Marvel Legends of 2022 comic book edition. And it's been another banner year for the Marvel Legend team. Of course, Hasbro, as they have pumped out product at a breakneck pace. A lot like other years, but even more so this year, it really did feel like. And of course, we got MCU editions. We counted those down in a separate edition video. We also had Build-A-Figures like we usually have. I did a separate video on my favorite Build-A-Figures of 2022. So check out those videos. But now we're getting down to the comic book edition of 2022. And comic book figures, always going to be my favorite because that's where I started in. That's where I first became a Marvel Legends fan, or I should say a Marvel Comics fan as a little kid. So it's always interesting what comic guys we get. We always get the old standbys, the Iron Mans, the Captain America, the Wolverines of the world, but sometimes we get some deeper cuts thrown at us like Moonstone and things like that, which is always fun, always interesting to see. They always keep us on our toes with the Marvel Legends team, but it's been one of those years over there. Inflation has really hurt the toy collecting community. It's hurt everybody across the world, I guess we could say, with inflation. But it seems like Hasbro, as far as all the companies, they've got the most daggers, the most bullets pointed at them, or shot at them, I guess you could say, over the last year, because a lot of people do not agree with the price points on a lot of these Marvel Legend figures, and a lot of people are voting, as we always say here on the channel, voting with their wallet. So it's been a little bit of a bumpy road for Hasbro in 2022, and I will say, compared to regular years or other years like 2021, for example, we've had some great stuff this year, but I think as a whole, we've had better years from Marvel Legends. Maybe that's just my opinion out there, but we did get some good stuff here, and we're going to talk the top 10 best in this very video. But I will say one little caveat, or I shouldn't say two caveats to this video. Now, of course, Galactus, he's going to be number one on pretty much everybody's list. How could he not be? But it's not totally fair to put Galactus in a top 10 list here because, yes, it is a figure. Yes, it is comic book related, but there's so many bells and whistles with that one. It's more of a play set in my mind than just a standalone figure, but you know, I can see a lot of people saying that's number one, and I would have to agree. If I was counting everything together, that was the number one thing from Marvel Legends and Hasbro in 2022. But I'm taking him off this list, just like I'm taking Build-A-Figures out, taking MCU guys out. This is just strictly comic, more regular style figure, regular releases for the most part. And we'll talk about that in this very video. I will say, and we've had this in a couple other videos this year as we've done countdowns, I will have to put one little asterisk here. I'm going to call this guy number 11 because I went back and forth between 10 and 11, 10 and 11, back and forth. He ended up being number 11, but I want to give him a special shout out. It is Morg, of course, a Herald of Galactus, looking like a burnt peanut, looking good, waltzing his way into my heart. I'd never even heard of this character until this whole thing went down, but I absolutely do love the looks of this figure, and like I said, he did come with Galactus. He was one of the Heralds that came with him, just barely missing the top 10. It was so close, I want to do a special call out for Morg. So Morg comes in at number 11, but now we got to get into the top 10 list, and like we do all these top 10 lists, let's make sure we put them in order. Start at number 10, work your way to number 1, and remember, this is my list, so nothing's right, nothing's wrong. This is my list. Put your list in the comments down below. So without further ado, let's get down to it. Let's take a look at the top 10 Marvel Legends of 2022. All right, let's start it off, and let's start it off at number 10. My number 10 Marvel Legend comic book edition of 2022 comes to us from Walgreens. Go grab your prescription, go grab your Marvel Legends figure, and that's what you had to do, and that becomes Jigsaw. Yes, Jigsaw is number 10 for me. Absolutely love this figure. Very, very cool. Very interesting as a Walgreens exclusive. And I will say the Walgreens exclusive this year have been very easy to track down. They have shown up online, very easy to purchase, no issues. I don't think I had to purchase any of them at the store. I just ordered them all. They're usually delivered within a day or two. So I did pick up Jigsaw right off the bat when he went up for pre-order. And this is what I like. This is one of those villains you can put with Daredevil, Punisher, some of the street scene guys. But very cool. Comes with an awesome gun. Comes with an awesome awesome machete. Of course, all torn up in the face department. He's seen better days for sure. And then you get a nice white suited body, which technically you could pop his head off. You could use this for other characters if you really wanted to. So a versatile one, a cool looking one, and just an all-around fun figure. That's why Jigsaw comes in at number 10 in my year-end countdown. All right, we're at the number 9 spot in our countdown here, and this time, instead of going to Walgreens, I switched my prescription over to Walmart. Yes, I know I'm rolling the dice, but switched my prescription to Walmart, and that's where I'm going for this one, is we're going to the Walmart exclusive comic book edition Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange, a guy that's had a lot of different figures, most notably a recent era, more MCU versions of Doctor Strange than comic book editions. But when I close my eyes, like I do a lot of nights, and I think about Doctor Strange, I think of the comic book edition, the Defender edition, stuff like that, and that was a glaring hole in my collection. I'm by no means the world's biggest Doctor Strange fan or even close to it, but I do know the character enough to be dangerous. I have read a lot of comics with him, and it was a glaring hole in my collection in some of my display cases, so I'm very happy we got this one from Walmart. But this one, not without its challenges, one of the first figures that took a little bit higher price point than we were accustomed to, so that disappointed a lot of people. Then distribution was pretty tough. This came out way back at the beginning of the year. If you ordered through Walmart.com, a lot of people got canceled. Some people like myself were fortunate enough the order went through. But then we never really saw him again. But then just most recently, if you're following along, and you should be subscribed to the channel by now. Hopefully you are. I can wait. Make sure you do subscribe. On my Friday figure hunt a couple of weeks ago, I was off the beaten path at a rural Walmart, and they had like 20 of these guys. Maybe it was 10, but who's counting? Who's counting anyways? We had like 10 of these guys, and they were $19.99 on clearance. So who knows? Walmart distribution is always goofy. But it sounds like he is maybe starting to make his way out to the retail pegs if you did miss this one. But a very, very good representation of Doctor Strange. And like I said, a glaring hole in my collection that I'm happy is filled. And that's why Doctor Strange comes in at number 9 in my year-end countdown. All right, 8 is great. We're at the number 8 spot on the countdown here, and this is one a lot like that last Doctor Strange that I've been wanting in my collection for quite some time. I missed out on the original Marvel Legends version back in the day for whatever reason, and then I never liked the Toy Biz version, and I did have the old school 90s Toy Biz version, which was a repaint of Captain America. Who am I talking about? We're talking about Marvel Legends U.S. Agent. And if you're lucky, you can hit your Target store. After Christmas, I've seen these have already started to be on clearance down to about $8, so you might be able to get yourself a deal on this one if you play a little that long game after Christmas. But U.S. Agent, always a favorite character of mine. I kind of like the dark Captain America personality here, the dark colors against the red. Obviously, always easy to make him because he really is a Captain America repaint in pretty much every line he's ever been in. But something about the character always I gravitated towards, and I always liked him even in the MCU version. I liked U.S. Agent in those episodes as well. So one, I'm happy we got a modern day release. It's not without its problems. I'd love to see the pinless joints on this guy would be really great, and I guess they can always walk that down in the future. But to get this one, it looks good. It definitely fills a hole in my collection, much like the Doctor Strange did at number 9. And that's why U.S. Agent is number 8 on my top 10 list. All right, we're at the number 7 spot, and this time we go back to the exclusive category. We go over to Hasbro Pulse, or we swing through the Disney stores. Anybody got any Disney stores? A lot of them in my area have closed down. But the Disney store, Hasbro Pulse, shared exclusive. It comes from the X-Men animated series line. If you were a kid in the 90s, you were all about the X-Men animated series. That's exactly what I was about. That is my favorite X-Men time frame, and I'm very excited for that series to come back with new episodes in 2023 at Disney+. But who are we talking about? We're talking about one of the most requested ones in a long time. We're talking about Morph. And now Morph, a figure, I go way back once again to my old Toy Biz days as a kid. Absolutely loved that figure. Love this one. I know some people are against it a little bit. They don't like the cell shading on here. They would have liked maybe some extra heads, things like that. But man, this gets the job done. And we know they're not going to give us the perfect morph right off the gate. They're going to give us more morphs down the line, I'm sure. We'll get one without cell shading, without the jacket, maybe some different heads, make people buy it multiple times. We know the drill by this time. But very cool. This has been much requested, long requested by a lot of collectors, myself included. So I'm really happy we finally got this guy in 2022. And a little bit plain Jane, but that's okay. It works. It definitely is here. And of course, he is part of one of the most pivotal scenes in cinematography history, animated history, TV history, whatever you want to call it. I put the death of Morph right up there with the death of Optimus Prime. It was a tough time for us kids out there, especially Wolverine as well. So coming in at number 7, the X-Men animated series, shared exclusive, Morph. All right, we've come to the number 6 spot, and really you could smoke and mirrors this one in as another X-Men animated series figure, but technically it is an X-Men retro wave, retro carded figure. And who are we talking about here at number 6? Well, we're talking about the granddaddy of them all, one of the oldest mutants of all time. We're talking about the mighty Apocalypse as his gun falls off his hand. We're talking about Apocalypse here, and Apocalypse is now. I love Apocalypse, possibly my favorite X-Men villain over the years, so I knew this was a day one purchase for me. I'm still anxiously awaiting the Marvel Select version. It's been delayed a couple of times, but apparently it's supposed to be out in February, so we'll look towards that in 2023. But I love this Apocalypse. Now, this would be a lot higher on my list if this wasn't a run back with a few tweaks, like we talked about what they'll probably do with Morph. We got that with Apocalypse, as he was a prior Build-A-Figure 5-6 years ago. What is time anymore? But I absolutely love that Apocalypse. I love this one now. I'm not sure if I love this one more than that one, but I love this one all the same. I have plenty of shelves, plenty of different displays, so I separate the Apocalypses, put them somewhere different. But very, very cool. And this one, like I said, very easily, and that's where I put it in my collection, is with the X-Men animated series figures, because it just feels animated Apocalypse to me. And heck, it looks like it from the show. But very, very cool. A couple of different tweaks from the last one, but still, for a lot of people that missed out on that one, never had that one, this is a good substitute. So a very, very cool one. One I'm very happy that came into the collection this year, and that's why he's at number 6 in my top 10 countdown. All right, we've come to the halfway point in the countdown. You got your list together. Make sure you put it in the comments down below, and while you're here, make sure you subscribe to this very YouTube channel. We got countdowns all the time, as you guys know. Best of year-end lists and videos every single day, and then some, so make sure you do subscribe. But we're at the halfway point. We're at number 5. Number 5, another semi-controversial one. One that was announced. I immediately sold my old Build-A-Figure version on eBay right after it was announced. I got full-on dollar, and it has dropped since then, as you can imagine. But who are we talking about? We're talking about Mojo. This was, let's see, was this the HasCon exclusive or San Diego Comic-Con? I think it was HasCon exclusive. I could be mixing those up, but it was an exclusive over there. Of course, it came with Dazzler and Longshot as part of the box set. A very cool box set as well. But then we had a little bit of surprise going on, as we did see a different version of Mojo with a little bit less bells and whistles, we'll just call it that. And that went down to Target. It seems to be just at Target right now. Maybe it'll go elsewhere as well. But that one didn't hold a candle to this one. So we're going with the Hasbro Pulse Edition exclusive. It is Mojo, and like I said, we had a good Build-A-Figure that was really good. I like this one 10 times more. This is great. This one may be a hair big, but I'd rather be a hair big than a hair small. There you go. But definitely looks good. I like the coloring on it. The articulation works for what it is. I love the kind of seat apparatus with the legs. I love the big stinger tail, the extra colors. Just absolutely fabulous. And of course, if you're a kid like I was, you're going to be biased towards this because of a kid of the 90s, you love some Mojo World. You saw the X-Men animated series, things like that. He is a character that resonates with that demographic, where if you're somebody that, you know, grew up on the X-Men in the 70s, maybe Mojo doesn't mean a whole lot to you, but if you grew up in the early 90s, the mid 90s, you know all about Mojo, and you were excited for this one, and I was so excited, I put him at number 5 in my top 10 list. All right, we're at the number 4 spot, and the number 4 figure I can see being number 1 on a lot of people's lists this year, and guess what? They can't be wrong because it's their list, just like this is my list, but this one comes in at number 4 for me, and which one are we talking about? Well, we're going to the Spider-Man retro card line. We're going all the way back to the beginnings of 2022. We're going to the black suit symbiote Spider-Man. Just an absolute stunning looking figure. And we've had quite a few of these over the years from Marvel Legends. But as of right now, I think most people think, as far as Hasbro goes, this is the defining edition of the symbiote Spider-Man suit. Very good, very posable, very clean, very dark and menacing at the same time. And once again, it all goes back to what you like and what you grew up on. And I grew up at the time when Venom was starting, Carnage was starting, and we moved on from the black suit and it went over to Venom, things like that. So this one holds a candle in my special heart from when I was a kid. So I do have a little blurred lines on that one. But like I said, I think a lot of people have this one as number 1 on their list this year. And it is an absolute fabulous figure here. The retro card Spider-Man line could be my favorite Marvel Legends line that's going on right now. There's a lot of nostalgia baked into that, and there's a lot of classic and key characters we get from that, much like the Black Symbiote Spider-Man. So I was very happy to get this one here in 2022. So happy enough that I put him at number 4 on my top 10 list. Oh baby, we're down to the final 3 in my top 10 Marvel Legends comic book figures of 2022, and number 3 is actually my favorite superhero of all time. It goes back to being a kid, as we keep saying in this video, reading the comics, collecting the comics, following his journey with the X-Men and his solo career. Who are we talking about? Your favorite and mine. We're talking about good old Wolverine, Logan himself, but we're talking about the Hasbro Pulse Disney Store shared exclusive Marvel Wolverine. Very cool. Yes, it has the cell shading, but man, I'm looking for this. I love the head on this one. I love the claws on this one. The head and the claws is what does it for me. We've had different versions of this version of Logan in the past, but this is the defining one for me. And I know, like I said with Morph, some people are turned off by the cell shading, but having its own little universe, having its own little shelf of the X-Men animated series figures, it works all day. I absolutely love this one. I love to pose it around. I love to move around with it. I love the gritting teeth head sculpt. Just a lot to like about this. And just like Morph, I'm expecting we'll get another one of these without cell shading. There's too much money on the table, as we do know. We'll get this down the line. I'll buy that one too because I love this figure that much. So much so, I put him at number 3 in my top 10 countdown. All right, we're down to the final 2. Oh, baby, in this one, if you guys remember last year, I was screaming, I was begging, I was pleading. It was my most wanted Marvel Legend of 2022. And, well, the Hasbro gods said, Kyle, we're going to take care of you. I don't think so, but it's fun to pretend, right? Coming in at number 2, once again from the Spider-Man Retro Series Retro Card, we're going to the fan channel exclusive. We're going to the mighty Rhino. So happy to get this year. I thought for sure this would be my number 1, but I had to be honest. I had to think about it. I had to swap things around. He came in at number 2, but I got a lot of history with Rhino going all the way back to the old Toy Biz days. I've talked about it here on the channel before. I've even talked about it with my dad on the channel. As if you guys remember back to the old original Toy Biz animated series line, Rhino was impossible to find, and about a year later he finally made his way to distribution to a lot of dollar stores. At least in the Midwest, that was the thing. My dad and I went to a dollar store after finally giving up the search on Rhino, and there was pegs and pegs and pegs of him for just a couple of dollars. We could not believe that. He wasn't very hard to find one back in the day, and of course his later day edition in Marvel Legends was a Build-A-Figure, and one I didn't get. I wasn't collecting at the time, so I missed out on that Rhino one, and that was kind of my white whale of Marvel Legends. So I was hoping we get an updated, improved version of Rhino, and depending where you are, I think this is an improved one over the prior Build-A-Figure one. It is Rhino when I close my eyes when I think of old Rhino. Big, beefy, got horns. What more could you want out of this one? And nostalgia just brings me back to this one all the time. And I always look at it when I'm in my office and I'm looking at my displays. He always catches my eyes. And that's why I brought him all the way up to number 2 in my top 10 year-end countdown. And now we're at the end of the countdown. And I never would have guessed this guy would have been number 1. But man, he stole my heart and he has yet to let go. Who is it? Stay tuned. All right, here we are. We're at the number 1 spot, but before we get there, make sure you do subscribe to this very YouTube channel. Make sure you thumbs up the video. It always does help. And of course, this is the number 1 Marvel Legends comic book edition figure. And we've done a lot of other top 10, top 5 lists at the year end here. But one thing I forgot to mention in some of the other videos that we're going to do is the winner from each category is going to go to a big video where I count down the absolute best figures of 2022. So we'll take all the winners, put them in their own video, count it down from there. So you'll want to subscribe, you'll want to see that video to see truly what was the best in 2022. But without further ado, let's get down to what was the best comic book edition figure of 2022. And this one, I would have never guessed. I guess I didn't even know this one was coming out until, I don't know. I don't think we got a lot of a notice about this one coming out either. But what is it? Well, it's Marvel Legends. It's Hasbro. It came from a 2-pack. It came from the Renew Your Vows 2-pack with Spinneret and, of course, Spider-Man. And can you believe this? The 2-pack Renew Your Vows Spider-Man figure is my #1 Marvel Legends figure of the year. This figure is the best Spider-Man figure I have had so far. Now, I have not unboxed the cell shading Walmart exclusive one yet. To me, that probably is going to count towards 2023, as that is supposed to ship sometime in the very last week of the year. So some people might get it in 2023. It's one of those kind of crossover ones, but I'm not really hip to the cell shading. I don't know if that cell shading will be enough to win me over to surpass this one, but we'll see. I guess we'll talk about that in the review when we do get that. But this one is absolutely amazing. All the articulation, pinless joints, iconic look to Spider-Man. When I close my eyes, and that's usually a good judge of figures for me, as I close my eyes and I think of it, if this is what I think of, it's probably going to be my favorite version. I just absolutely do love this one. And I never would have guessed a 2-pack with Spinneret would have had such a good Spider-Man. But man, here we are, 2022, a crazy year with the Marvel Legends team. But I really do love this one. This is my Spider-Man. When I think of my Marvel Legends Spider-Man, and let's be honest, there's probably 30, 40, 50 Spider-Man figures from Marvel Legends over the years. Out of all of those, this is my Spider-Man. One of the most iconic Marvel characters of all time, of course. Probably my top 3 favorite Marvel Legend. You got Wolverine at #1 for sure, but Punisher, Spider-Man, they kind of go back and forth. Captain America's in the mix a little bit. But this Spider-Man's so iconic, so cool, and if you do not own this one, it is worth getting that 2-pack for. That Spinneret figure's not terrible either, but it is worth it. Got to get a deal, maybe play some long game, do what you got to do, but you need this Spider-Man in your collection. I'm just over the moon with it, so much so, he came in at #1 in my 2022 countdown. But what say you guys out there in YouTube land? Do you got your top 10 comic book edition? Can you put it in the comments down below? And can you put it in order? Let me know. I'm very interested to see what your #1 Marvel Legend figure is of 2022. There was a lot of good stuff. Let's be honest, there was some not so good stuff in 2022, like all toy lines for the most part. But there was some good stuff, and I did share my top 10 here. You guys share your top 10 in the comments down below. And of course, like I said, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the old notification bell. Don't forget about the Patreon, where you can get videos like this much earlier than traditional YouTube. Bonus content, exclusive content, you name it. And best of all, you do support the channel. You can also support the channel at ProWrestlingTees.com. Search Kyle Peterson. Don't forget to follow along on social media. SirPaul64 over there on Twitter, Instagram, _Kyle_Peterson. So for the best of 2022 Marvel Legends Comic Book Edition, I am Kyle. See you guys all real soon.